You have been ignored for 3 days. You have spent 72 hours in a state of suffocating, invisible panic. You have replayed every single conversation in your head, desperately trying to figure out what you said wrong, what you did wrong, and why they suddenly pulled away. The silence is deafening. It feels like a physical weight on your chest. You finally reach your breaking point. You sit on the edge of your bed, completely emotionally bankrupt, and you make the decision. You are done. You promise yourself that you will never let someone treat you like an option again. You gather your remaining dignity, and you prepare to walk away. And then, your phone vibrates. It is a text from them. It isn't a grand apology. It isn't an explanation for their absence. It is just a meme, a random observation, a casual thinking of you. Or perhaps they drop by, look at you with that soft, familiar expression, and touch your arm as if nothing ever happened. Instantly, your resolve shatters. The 72 hours of agonizing pain vanish into thin air. The anger evaporates, replaced by a desperate, overwhelming wave of euphoric relief. You smile. You reply. You unpack your mental bags and walk right back into the prison cell, locking the door behind you. You hate yourself for doing it. You feel weak. You feel pathetic. But you are not weak. You are not pathetic. You are the victim of the most sophisticated, devastating psychological trap in human existence. You are entirely addicted to the trap of intermittent kindness. Act 1. The myth of the real person. To understand why you are trapped, you first have to understand the lie you are constantly telling yourself. When you are in a relationship with someone who treats you terribly 90% of the time, but gives you 10% of pure, unadulterated affection, your brain performs a dangerous act of mental gymnastics. You experience two entirely different versions of this person: the cold, cruel, dismissive version, and the warm, loving, attentive version. Because the human mind desperately craves safety, it makes a fatal miscalculation. You convince yourself that the warm, loving version is who they actually are, and that the cold, cruel version is just a temporary glitch. You tell yourself they are just stressed. You tell yourself they have childhood trauma. You tell yourself that if you can just love them hard enough, be patient enough, and absorb enough of their toxicity, you can permanently unlock the good version of them. This is the foundational illusion of the trap. The warm, loving version of them is not their true self. It is a tool. Whether they are doing it consciously with malicious intent or subconsciously as a learned survival mechanism, their intermittent kindness is a leash. They are not giving you affection because they suddenly value you. They are giving you just enough affection to ensure that you do not leave. They are feeding you a single breadcrumb of connection to keep you starving at their table, completely dependent on them for emotional survival. Society tells us that love is about holding on through the hard times. We romanticize the struggle. We are taught that loyalty means standing by someone when they are at their worst. But this cultural narrative is deeply weaponized by toxic people. They use your loyalty, your empathy, and your capacity for forgiveness against you. You think you are being a noble, ride-or-die partner, but in reality, you are just providing a free, endless supply of emotional labor to someone who views your forgiveness not as a gift, but as a weakness to be exploited. The neuroscience of the slot machine. To understand why you cannot simply walk away, we must look at the biological mechanics of your brain. You are not dealing with a broken heart. You are dealing with a hijacked nervous system. In the 1950s, the behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner conducted a series of experiments that completely revolutionized our understanding of addiction. He placed rats in cages equipped with a lever. In the first scenario, every time the rat pressed the lever, it received a food pellet. The reward was predictable. The rat learned the system, pressed the lever only when it was hungry, and went about its life. It was a stable, healthy dynamic. But then, Skinner changed the rules. He reprogrammed the lever so that the reward became entirely unpredictable. Sometimes the rat pressed the lever and got nothing. Sometimes it pressed the lever 10 times and got nothing. But suddenly, on the 11th press, it would get a massive jackpot of food. The result was terrifying. The rat's brain completely short-circuited. Because the reward was random and unpredictable, the rat became utterly obsessed. It stopped sleeping. It stopped grooming itself. It abandoned all other survival activities and did nothing but frantically, desperately press the lever, driven entirely mad by the anticipation of the next random reward. This mechanism is called intermittent reinforcement. It is the exact neurological architecture that powers slot machines in Las Vegas. And it is exactly what your toxic partner is doing to you. If they were cruel to you 100% of the time, your brain would recognize them as a predator. Your survival instincts would kick in, and you would walk away. If they were kind to you 100% of the time, your nervous system would relax. You would feel safe, secure, and calm. But by alternating between coldness and intense kindness, they have turned themselves into a human slot machine. When they ignore you, your brain is starved of dopamine. You enter a state of severe chemical withdrawal and psychological panic. You become frantic, trying to figure out how to pull the lever and win them back. When they finally drop a breadcrumb of kindness, a text, a compliment, a sudden display of affection, your brain is flooded with a massive, artificial surge of dopamine. That massive chemical spike feels incredibly intense. It feels like fireworks. It feels like passion. But it is not love. It is the exact same chemical high that a gambling addict feels when the cherries line up on the slot machine. You are addicted to the unpredictability. You have been conditioned to equate the relief of anxiety with the presence of love. You stay not because you are happy, but because you are chemically dependent on the rare, random moments when they finally make the pain stop. The toxicity of hope. The most devastating consequence of intermittent reinforcement is what it does to your perception of reality. It forces you to live entirely in the future, surviving on the toxic fuel of hope. In healthy situations, hope is a virtue. It is the light that guides us through temporary darkness. But when you are trapped in a cycle of intermittent kindness, hope is not a virtue. Hope is a parasite. Hope is the chain that keeps you bound to a person who is actively destroying your peace. You do not stay for who they are today. You stay for who you hope they will be tomorrow. You stay for the potential. You look at the 10% of the time they are kind, and you project that into a fantasy future where they are kind 100% of the time. But potential is an illusion. Potential is just the gap between who someone actually is and who you desperately need them to be. Every time they offer you a breadcrumb of kindness, it resets your hope clock. It gives you just enough fuel to endure another month of neglect, another month of gaslighting, and another month of emotional starvation. Look at what this dynamic is doing to your identity. You are shrinking yourself to fit into the microscopic spaces of their affection. You become hyper-vigilant. You start monitoring their moods, adjusting your tone, suppressing your own needs, and walking on eggshells, terrified that one wrong move will make the good version of them disappear again. You stop living your own life and become a full-time manager of their emotional state. You spend hours analyzing their cryptic text messages, seeking advice from your friends, and trying to decode their behavior. Your entire existence becomes a desperate quest to figure out the right combination of words and actions that will make the slot machine pay out. But the game is rigged. You cannot win because the rules are not designed for you to win. The rules are designed to keep you playing until you have absolutely nothing left. Act 4. Breaking the machine. How do you escape a prison built out of your own brain chemistry? How do you walk away from a slot machine when you are convinced the next pull will be the jackpot? You must execute a radical, ruthless shift in your psychology. First, you must absolutely destroy the illusion of their potential. You have to stop analyzing their childhood, their stress levels, and their hidden traumas. Their reasons for treating you poorly do not matter. The only thing that matters is the reality of their behavior. The cold, dismissive person who ignores you for days is not a glitch. That is the actual machine. The moments of kindness are just the flashing lights designed to keep you pulling the lever. Second, you must reframe the concept of the breadcrumb. When they text you after a long silence, your brain will try to tell you it is a victory. It will try to convince you that they finally missed you, that they finally realized your worth. You must override that biological lie. You must look at that text message and recognize it for what it truly is, a calculated tactic to disrupt your healing. It is not an olive branch, it is a hook. They are testing the perimeter to see if you are still available for consumption. To break the trap of intermittent kindness, you cannot slowly taper off. You cannot agree to just be friends. You cannot have one final conversation to get closure. Any engagement, any reaction, any response at all is a pull of the lever. You must enact absolute, cold, permanent withdrawal. When you stop playing the game, you are going to feel a profound, terrifying emptiness. The dopamine spikes will stop and your brain will go into severe withdrawal. You will feel a crushing wave of anxiety, and your mind will scream at you to reach out to them just to make the pain stop. You must outlast the withdrawal. You must treat your own mind as a hostile negotiator that is trying to drag you back to the casino. Let your hands shake. Let the anxiety hit you in waves. Feel the absolute devastation of the loss. But do not pick up the phone. Do not check their social media. Do not allow them access to your reality. True empowerment is not about finding someone who loves you perfectly. It is about recognizing when you are being starved, having the profound self-respect to stand up from the table and walking out of the room. The casino only wins if you keep playing. The moment you walk out the door, the machine loses its power over you forever. You are not abandoning a grand romance. You are escaping a psychological trap. Walk away. Let them keep their breadcrumbs. You deserve an entire feast, and you will never find it as long as you are staring at a rigged machine.